Hey guys, so today I want to talk to you about change. And change I find to be a very interesting topic because, change can be either good or change could be bad. It kind of depends on the context and the situation that we're going through. But nonetheless, the whole process of going through change, whether it's good or bad, can suck. It can be really, really hard. And particularly when we're living in this society, in this world where it's all about, embrace the change, take the change head on, change is a good thing, et cetera, et cetera. It still doesn't detract from the fact that that change can suck. And there's a good reason why that change is hard to go through. And it's because our body is trying to evoke a stress response, whether it's good or bad. And the reason why our body does this is because, 30,000 years ago when we were living in the caves, change could have meant a lot of bad things. Change could have meant, we lost our food source, we lost our shelter. Ultimately, what change could have led to is death. So when your body evokes that stress response inside of you anytime you're undergoing a change, well, it's doing it for a good reason. It's trying to protect you. It's going into survival mode and thinking that something bad is going to happen. And so that's what it's trying to do in terms of change. So how do we overcome and work our way through change? Because depending on the situation, say if you're getting a new job, going to school, doing something quite dramatic, it can be a very big change all at once. And if we go too big, too much at one time, we might not follow through on that change because the stress response would be too great. It would be too much change and it could be overwhelming. So we throw our hands up and we quit. And so when it's kind of a big change like that, it's kind of looking at, well, what are some things that I can take control of in that environment? How can I help to mitigate some of that overall stress response? It's not like I can make small little steps because you can't just show up to work for an hour and then be like, okay, I'm done, guys, I'm out. That's enough change for me today. I'm going to go home and relax and de-stress. No, you got to show up to that new job for 8 hours, put the work in, do all the learning, meet all these new people. So how can you mitigate that? Well, look at the things you can control in your environment. You're going to have to have a new drive to work or a new commute to work. So figure out your route. Figure out what's the best way to get there. So that's just one thing off your plate at the morning of when you're starting your new job that you don't have to worry about that. Or do things like packing your lunch so you don't have to worry about food, or making sure you have enough snacks, having water, ibuprofen in case you get a headache. Planning ahead for all the possible things that could happen when you're undergoing that change in that stressful response. Now, what about on the flip side? What if the changes are small, particularly when it comes to lifestyle changes and habit changes and stuff like that? We generally try to make small little changes over time because the smaller the changes we make, the more likely we're going to be able to maintain them and continue on with them. And if we make, once again, too big a changes, too many changes at once, it's overwhelming. Particularly, New Year's resolution is the classic example that I use where all of these people, they get on these new diets, new exercise plans, and it's too much, and after 3 weeks, they've ended up quitting because they changed too many things in their life that ultimately evoked too much of a stress response. It became overwhelming, and they have to go back and revert back to their old habits because it was just way too much. So how do you take small little steps and knowing that you're on the right way? Well, that's the thing, is you just find little tweaks and changes that you figure you can make. And regardless, that stress response is going to still occur, but how can we make it a manageable stress response? How can we make it something that we can ultimately work through and work towards to making that change? And so that's what you want to do, is that when you're trying to change a habit or a lifestyle, just find one small thing. Be very specific about it, going back to our values and setting your goals. Find it, tweak it, and then kind of maintain that for a while. And then when you're feeling comfortable with that change, make another tweak. And then when you're comfortable, do that for a while. And then when you're comfortable with that change, make another tweak, and make another tweak, and make another tweak. And I actually got this from the Obesity Revolution podcast. If you guys haven't checked that out, great podcast, great group. They're down in the States doing some really, really, really great work down there. But one of their quotes was, using small tweaks lead to massive peaks. And that's so true, right? You have this mountain of this goal that you want to accomplish, but you need to make one little step at a time to work your way up that mountain in order to reach the peak. So rather than trying to go from the base all the way to the peak, how about you just take a few small steps along the way, get comfortable with it, get used to it, and work your way up so it's not as overwhelming and it's not as stressful. So that's kind of a little bit on change, guys. Hope that kind of helps you in some terms of how you can kind of think about change and why change can be so hard. Good or bad, change can be a good thing, definitely. But we just need to make sure that we're kind of, how can we take control of that change, and how can we better make the small tweaks so that the change isn't as bad, so that stress response isn't as bad, and so that we can actually follow through on making those change happen and make them a reality. All right, so like, share our page, healthcareevolved.ca. Any questions, concerns, please let me know. But anyways, have a great day, guys.